You know what? Donuts, that's something that we can talk about.
A runner being able to put on muscle mass, that it's possible.
You try it out for a while. Either it sticks or it doesn't stick. Even if it does stick, there's probably a period of time where you're going to come off of it. Let's go ahead. Go ahead, John.
One of the products that I like to use maintain their endurance fitness while also gaining muscle mass.
You know, specifically thinking about creatine right now. How much protein is actually in, you know, your per gram serving, because I think you only need like roughly.
We're gonna go over these three categories: pre-workout, post-workout, and just supplements used throughout the day. Okay, that's the starter. That's the thing. And also just to say, hey, again, this is not an exhaustive study. By the way, like guys, we're gonna call this, like, we're starting from somewhere where I was talking. All right. What do you guys recommend? Josiah, exercise.
What do we recommend?
Exercise, scientists, give me the best supplements now. Go.
Oh gosh.
All right.
By that I don't mean the product. Like what even like what's general? Like do I need BCAAs? Do I need
petrocholine?
Mixolane?
All right.
I don't know about that.
What do we need? Don't even ask that question. That is the worst. Yeah, so
Why? Because there's no need or what?
I was gonna say, I think everybody's journey, just, you know, everybody has to have some sort of journey where you start with something, you try it out for a while, either it sticks or it doesn't stick. Even if it does stick, there's probably a period of time where you're going to come off of it, you know, specifically thinking about creatine right now. But I don't like this question at all, so I'm going to go ahead. Are you
toss it
down to John? John, you're down there on my screen. What?
Hey,
Let's go
John,
ahead.
you said
Go ahead, John. What do you got for us?
I don't like this question. I'm just going to throw it down to the little man over here. What?
Let's go, runner man, marathoner.
Oh my gosh.
That's not what he meant, people.
Oh
72.
You have to refer to the last podcast if you want to know what 72 means.
Yes.
Oh man, it's a great question. Coming from a running perspective, I love this question just because I've always been an advocate for an athlete, a runner being able to put on muscle mass, that it's possible. And Josiah and I have had some back and forth conversations on this. We're like, yeah, it's possible, but it's not optimal. And one of my, now I won't mention him right now, but Josiah knows one of my go-to dudes. So
Why won't you mention him?
You can mention, right?
Oh no. Yeah, Nick
EPN.
Fair. He's got his own.
I thought that's who you were talking about. Yeah.
He's actually got his own supplement brand.
Bear Performance or something like
Yeah,
that.
he's an amazing athlete. But anyways, great resource by the way. One of the products that I like to use in that regard of somebody who wants to maintain their endurance fitness while also gaining muscle mass. Obviously not the most muscle mass, because you have to put a lot of work into both forms of fitness if you want to do both well. But it's a supplement by Raw, and it focuses more on like the isotopes. It's a protein powder. But it's more designed for lean muscle mass, whereas like a whey protein might just be more focused on like gaining strictly muscle mass. And Josiah can attest to, or talk more about the differences between different protein powders, I'm sure. But that's one of my go-tos as far as supplements. It's made by Raw, and it focuses more on, I think, peptides and I think isotopes. I don't know the science behind that.
What's it called?
It's it's made by Raw, but I believe it's like an isotope protein powder. Let me
Okay.
look it up on my phone right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it is one of my favorites. And as I'm talking, Josiah, go ahead and jump in.
All right.
Isotope, like isolate, maybe? Like whey isolate? Is that what it is?
That
Is that
sounds about
isotope?
right.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Josiah, what do you got?
Oh, I was just thinking about, the fact of like
How do you get big?
different proteins. So any kind of like, first of all, they didn't find like big, research for should I take my protein before my workout, which is kind of like a no duh kind of moment. But any kind of, protein that you do take, it's important to realize like uh, how much protein is actually in, your per gram serving, because I think you only need like roughly 25 to 30 grams of protein in a sitting for like that optimal kind of like um,
Digestion.
yeah, synthesis, which is pretty much just your muscle building. So I think that, you're good, pretty good if your stomach can handle it with the whey proteins. Um, the whey isolates, things like that. But when it comes down, I think there's always been that talk with like casein protein, which should be better at night. But honestly, I like protein, you know, throughout the day. I might take one scoop in the morning, one scoop at night, just to try and hit my protein overall, because I think that, bar none, that's the most important is your overall protein throughout the day. If you're making sure that you're getting the adequate amount versus like, oh, I got to hit like 50 grams of protein right after my workout. That's not necessary. You definitely need, protein after your workout, but you also need your carbohydrates. So, John, did you figure out what that one was?
I did, yeah, yeah. So it is an isolate protein. So it says here that this one it's a pure protein and it's 25 grams of protein and it is used to promote lean muscle tissue. So it's rapid digestion and it's more of like a recovery post workout powder, But I've had the best results with that protein powder as far as like easy digestion, not feeling heavy after uh, drinking it, and yeah, and gr- getting that lean muscle mass, like still being able to build muscle and feel like, oh wow, that there's a difference when I do take that supplement. And I have taken more like heavier protein powders that I feel heavy and full. It takes a
Mm-hmm.
little longer to digest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those are ones I typically stay away from personally, um, just because I try to keep running in the mix. But if you're bodybuilding, I think Josiah can attest to some of those other protein powders that are available. But that's really the only post protein powder I'll use.
What'd you say was the brand for the
It,
protein you
by Raw.
raw? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just curious. There's also Isopure, like another one that you can get away isolate from. It's pretty good, and it breaks it down so that it's like pretty concentrated protein, very minimal on the carbohydrates. If that's what you're looking for. What is enough protein? That's probably a question on some people's mind. I kind of go with your weight, somewhere around your weight in pounds is around how much grams of protein you need.
Mm-hmm.
I think it changes again for your goals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you're really trying to build muscle mass maximum, you might be going a little bit more, maybe. And if you're not, then you could probably get away with less pretty easily. Um, so again, it definitely depends on your goals. What do you guys think? With that being said, that's what I say.
Yeah, you can't really, if you're really trying to stick to like your macros, which is just, your macronutrients, your proteins, carbs, and fats, in order like to get this specific, figure or achieve this specific goal, you can't really have like an abundance of protein. So I feel like we're going to say the word protein so many times throughout this podcast.
You can't have, yeah. You can't have
Oh,
abundance
sorry.
of
You
protein?
can't go wrong with having an abundance of
Oh,
protein.
okay.
So there was a study that like, had, weightlifters, and they fed them, I think it was 500 more calories per day, versus like this control group. But those calories were only protein. And it just showed that, at the end of the term, I don't know, 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever that was, that they didn't see an increase in like body weight or anything like that. They did see, increases in like muscle synthesis, which is just your muscle building. But to talk about that and kind of hit that point, you really shouldn't be worried about over consuming protein. And what Jeremy said is a good one. So I weigh about 230. With my goals, it was kind of like back when I was tracking all my macronutrients, I think I was trying to hit around 200, 220, somewhere within that window as far as like protein. And that's in grams. So like you were talking about that, John, where it's like, okay, 20 grams of protein, like isn't that much when you're thinking about 200 grams overall, And so that's why when we're talking about that, it is better to like hit that throughout the day. Every couple hours, you're hitting like 20 grams of protein, 20 to 30, maybe 20 to 40 grams of protein is probably your best way to like build muscle mass. And I know it can be like exhausting, and I know it can be like almost obsessive at times. But if you are truly trying to gain as much muscle mass as possible, that's ultimately where you want to try and end up, is getting your protein in, getting it in throughout the day. And I think you'd be good to go.
Speaking of which, we talk on diet on another podcast, so go check that out. So that can kind of help you too to understand more about how much protein to be taking. We talk about macros a little bit there, and some suggestions for different approaches, because I know there are some out there. I think of my wife that's like, I do not want to have to count my macros, and it's like, depending on what your goals are, you don't have to, depending on what your goals are.
Right.
If you're trying to get specific goals, the best way to get specific goals is to be specific about what you're putting in your body. But, and macros is like, counting your macros is like the number one way to do that. It's pretty much a universal scientific understanding of it at this point. But which is saying a lot, because sports science and science nutrition is like the Wild West. There's a lot of different opinions out there. But yeah, so anyways, just wanted to throw that in there. But going back to like supplements, we hit protein. That Josiah said we probably talk about that a lot. I want to ask one question before we get into creatine, because I want to talk a little bit about creatine as well. And I want to talk about maybe why other ones people don't need to worry about, just to make sure people like get a hit on. Real brief though, but real quick. You said something in the beginning about protein before or after. People a lot of times ask that. So can you hit on that real quick? Like, do you have a recommendation of what studies show? Does it, or is it just like you're saying, just have it all throughout the day? It doesn't really
Yeah, right. The biggest thing that they showed is making sure you're getting it all throughout the day. But as far as, after your workout, you have a nice little like 2-hour window, maybe like 90-minute window, where your muscles have been essentially depleted of your glycogen, which is really just like your sugar stores. So like that's what your body is using to pretty much fuel your workout, is how your glycogen, and it's pretty much tearing down your muscles. So the most important thing to do after your workout is going to be to get in some sort of carbohydrate that will help kind of shuttle that protein into your muscles, is how you kind of want to think about it. So if you're only, getting your protein after your workout, you'll probably still honestly feel a little fatigued. And that's because you need to restore that sugar element, that glycogen, to your muscles. And so that's kind of where you can get away with like eating not the best food after a workout, because that's what's getting essentially pumped right into your muscles. So to answer your question, Jeremy, it's not so important that you get your protein in before your workout, and it's not even so important that you get it in after your workout, but you probably do want to try to get like at least 20 grams after the workout. And then like we were talking about, hitting that all throughout the day, getting your goal.
Yeah. Well, that brings up, and we're going to hit on creatine. And John, let me know if there's something you want to throw in. Is there something you want to throw in before I say anything?
Yes. Just something short just came to my mind when Josiah was speaking is it's better to stay fueled than refuel than, not to have anything in your system at all throughout the day and getting it all in after. So just as long as you're staying fueled and refuel after your workout, you're going to be good. So that's all I got.
Nice. I was just going to say, so some things that can potentially help you to get carbohydrates fast is like an example of something like a sugar drink. Like you can, liquefying the carbohydrate is like the quickest way to get it in. So one example of that could be like you could get like Gatorade, like concentrated like powders, and you could put that in your drink, shake it up. And a lot of times I'll drink something like that right after. You could do even like 2 scoops, like if you exaggerate, especially like say you do like a super intense, long workout. That's like a good time to use it. You can also do it before as well, because as Josiah is saying, like our body is using those carbohydrates for fuel, unless you've trained your body to run on fats, But really, let's be honest, like the body was made to run on carbohydrates, and that's a whole other thing. Sorry for some people if they're like, hey, I don't like hearing that. But, and we'll talk about it. I'm not an exercise scientist. I could be wrong. I'm just saying. But from my opinion, my understanding, the research I've seen and people are saying and experts is that, like, overall, the body was made to run on carbohydrates, right? It's made to run on sugar. That's its main fuel source. And so, while fats are there as well, of course. And so you could take, like, the concentrate of Gatorade before as well, potentially. Or you could have a little bit of fruit. Take, like, something like that as well before, right? That you could use as energy. There's some research that's even showing you can take like not so good stuff normally for you. You can take like some Skittles even. You could like literally take some gummies and stuff like that. And obviously depending on your digestion, how your stomach responds to things like that, it's going to affect your workout. But yeah, I had a buddy the other day, we did a CrossFit workout. He threw a donut in probably 20 minutes before, and he's like, I can feel it kicking in for
I'm
me.
telling you guys, you know what? Donuts, that's something that we can talk about. That literally saved me during, John, you mentioned the Murph. I did the marathon Murph, which was, that's something we can get into the future too, and my experience with that. But that was pretty much like 26 rounds of, you would do 1 mile run, and then you would come back and do 10 pull-ups, 20 push-ups, and 30 air squats. And you would go out and do that 26 times, so that by the end of it you had ran a marathon. You would have to run a little 400 meters, because otherwise it was to get that 26.2 in. So there was that little bit, but by the end of it you had done 260 pull-ups, 500 something push-ups, and then maybe 800 something air squats. And I think that I was probably on lap 17, 18, and this lady brought in these donuts. I had one of those donuts, and that, I'm telling you, I don't know if it was because my body was, I do like donuts, and if it was because my body was used to, my body's like, whoa, 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 I recognize this, because I had been going, it took me 8 hours to complete. So
yeah,
yes, I agree, Jeremy. Something that something that can fill you. Yeah, for sure. And I think that just the fact, because donuts are fatty too. So it was my body had the fatty and the sugar, and it was just bam, hit me.
Yeah. That's probably one of the, that's one of those windows where, and I feel like that's what a lot of people want to know, okay, is that, is there such a thing as a window where I could eat something like a donut and it won't just become stored in my fat cells? In particular, in the middle of working out or right after workout, if I throw a donut in there, is it really true that it's really going to mostly just replenish the glycogen levels in my muscles?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Yeah, you're asking me. Yeah. Yeah, during
I think people want to know that. Whenever I tell people like that in the gym, they're like, what?
Yeah.
They're very happy to find out that there's a possibility that they could have a certain amount, obviously within overall what you eat that day, overall what you do with the workout, all these things affect that.
Yeah.
But there is a potential you could have a donut and it wouldn't necessarily make you gain weight afterwards, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So just for those who want to know, look more into it. But basically the general idea is within 90 minutes, your glycogen levels have been depleted, potentially depending on what kind of workout you did. And if that, in case you did a workout that did that, if you put in something sugary like, say, a donut, there's a good chance it actually really will go more to your muscles rather than to your fat cells.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Basically, right?
What is John? What are you looking at down there,
Dude.
John?
Well, I love these conversations. First and foremost, like speaking from like marathon experience, where a lot of these marathoners they carry these little sports beans that are literally designed to give you that glycogen hit, or just restore your energy, because it's been so depleted after 15 miles, 18 miles, like Josiah was saying, and they just need a little bit more to sustain the level of effort that they have been for 18 miles. And so I think it's really cool that you shared what the donut did for you, because at that intensity, what you guys are doing, when you were telling me, Josiah, what you did with this nerve, I was like, bro, I hope your body can sustain this level of effort, because that is a lot. Like just running a marathon within a workout like that, the amount of energy that you're expending, I can't even imagine how many calories you burn.
Yeah.
And like literally a little bean, a Skittle, something with some sugar in it, a strawberry, something like that, that's power packed with these sugars that you mentioned before, Josiah, that your brain uses a lot of these sugars to engage in physical activity. The amount, what it does to the body, you literally feel revitalized to just go hard again. For it could literally be for the next 10 miles of running, or the next an hour and a half of fitness, just because your body restored those sugar levels. And it's an incredible feeling to feel that. I felt that after I did a mock triathlon. Yeah, I did a mock triathlon. What did I do? A sprint triathlon, which is like a 6 mile something run, a 26 mile bike ride, and a mile swim. And I'm not sure if that's a full triathlon or not. It might be. But anyways, I'd never done one before, and I was depleted of all energy, and I was brain fog, everything. My buddy Caleb, one of our really good friends, took me to Steak and Shake as a reward, and I had a shake. Bro, and a burger, and literally, I'm not joking, as soon as I started drinking that shake, bro, just my mental sharpness and clarity came back. It was the most incredible experience. Like,
the most incredible.
Like, what just happened to me, dude? Like, I feel great now. Instead of feeling.
Okay.
Anyways, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, that's super good. I just want to do like a fast fire round. Okay, let's hit on a couple more supplements. Creatine. I think creatine's all the way up there. I'm a new believer in creatine. What's the deal? Why is creatine helpful for building muscle, Josiah? Anybody or John? What you got?
That's all you, Josiah.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, creatine. Why is that so helpful? There is so your energy system, your first energy system that we use is called your creatine phosphate system. And so it literally has word creatine in there. And that's only good for like your 10, 15 second like burst of energy. You think about these sprinters who run like 100 meters, they're using specifically that system. They don't need to tap into other systems because that event is only going to last them like 20 seconds or 12 seconds, 11 seconds, 10 seconds. So basically the biggest thing about your creatine is that it allows your body, like if you think about a heavy lift, let's say like a heavy squat, a heavy bench press, that's not going to take you like a minute to perform because, you're going to be under there, you're going to unrack it, and you're going to hit that. And it's probably only going to take you like 15 seconds, 20 seconds at max to do. So you're literally using that first energy system. So what the creatine does for you then is when you put that into your body, you're essentially giving yourself like a little bit, I wouldn't say you're extending that energy, but you're allowing your body to have like this resource where it can pull that creatine that's more readily available because you ingested more of that as a supplement. And so what that does is that might allow you to hit that bench press like one or two more times. And then over time, you're just going to keep like steadily stepping up where it's like, hey, I'm able to hit this like one or two more times. So that means the next week I'm able to either like bump up my weight so that I can do that same thing, or I might even hit it like one more time after that. And that's slow and steady progression. As long as you're like, increasing your weights and following that progression is going to kind of like allow you to get stronger over time.
So for the layman and to like short sum now, that was great, Josiah. The short sum that is that it really, when it comes down to, is that measurably we can measure. There's a lot of measurement that shows that it can increase performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can increase performance specifically in your training and your muscle building workouts, your resistant weight training in particular, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's why, if someone's curious, it's about energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying it doesn't just affect your first energy form, the phosphagen, but it also affects the anaerobic as well and the aerobic. Is that right? It can affect all those systems.
Well, I don't think like that's. I think it's like if we're talking about we think about creatine, we think about building muscle. So a marathoner probably isn't going to see the same benefits as a bodybuilder or like someone like us who's trying to like build muscle, just because, relatively speaking, because our window of work capacity is a lot shorter than like marathoners who might work out for like hours on end. And when that's the case, it's like they probably don't need creatine. So yeah, I think that they could take it. It might help like certain areas, but like those individuals who are staying within that window of time, which is like 0 to 30 seconds, let's say, they're going to have like the most benefit because that like I said, that energy system, they just have more creatine readily available to draw from.
Okay.
Wow.
Nice. So John, you got to dip out now, huh?
I think I'll be good for a little while longer. So I'll just wait. I'll just wait till they come and get me if they need this room.
Okay, well, good, because I wanted to keep with this fire round. Okay, here's another thing. So we hit on creatine. Obviously, we didn't get exhaustive about it, and protein. If you guys want to know more, let us know. We are here to serve that. But I think we've hit on those pretty decently. What about other things? Like, for instance, pre-workouts. Do I need a pre-workout, Josiah? Do I need that?
What do you guys think?
Yeah, John, what do you think?
Do you guys take it?
I think it's great for intensity workouts as far as like a runner goes. Yeah, intensity workouts or a race. And, a lot of people have different forms. They use different forms of like a pre-workout for that. Some people take a sip of coffee or a sip of Coke just to get that like hit right before the race without like digesting that sugar,
You're bringing up a good point. Like, what even is like that? I was like, yeah, we kind of do have to define a little bit pre-workout. That's a broad word, and there's a lot of things, right? Like, so there's the caffeine element, right? And there are studies, right? Josiah, John, back me up. There are some studies that show like there's measurement that like potentially for certain individuals, like there was some good results having caffeine before working out, especially if your body's used to having caffeine. So there's that. But pre-workouts oftentimes aren't just caffeine, right? So if someone's addressing, hey, is caffeine before workout good or bad? It just kind of depends, but there's a good chance it could be good. If you are a normal caffeine drinker, don't worry about, like, you can have, don't be like, you don't have to have coffee. Like, I'm going to not have coffee because I'm about to work out. No, if you normally have coffee, have some coffee and work out. And as a matter of fact, like, probably having a little bit will be good. So that's like a quick answer to that one. But the second one is like, what else is in there? There's things like Beta-Alanine, for instance, right? Like, what are some other things that we see in pre-workouts and why, and do we need them?
Josiah, you want to hit on that?
Yeah. Well, like creatine is sometimes often in there, like you said. They might even put like different like BCAAs in that. Um, but otherwise, I think that yeah, you hit on caffeine, which is huge. Like coffee, for instance, there was a study that showed with coffee specifically that exactly what you touched on, Jeremy. People who are already attuned to coffee and its effects, they had the biggest benefits when it came down to their, their exercise, yeah, habits. Because the main thing with that caffeine was for that study specifically was it increased their pain threshold, and so they were able to kind of like stay in the game longer. I think it was cyclists, but they were able to stay in the game longer because they could tolerate the pain specifically. So it was kind of like a unique study. But as far as I go and like pre-workouts, I don't I don't necessarily like them because, well, number one, I work out at 5 a.m. and I know some individuals in my gym who do use some sort of pre-workout beforehand. And to me, that like to drink a pre-workout at 4:30 in the morning is not ideal, not optimal for me. Yeah, exactly. But more power to them. And I was gonna say, I was even thinking in the kitchen over there about the fact of like, you know, more power to people who work out after their like 9 to 5 job or after a long day at school because they need a little bit more of a kick. I understand, and I think I was in that boat for a little while, so I completely understand having to like get a little bit more pep in your step before you go hit an intense workout after you just had a very long day and your brain's exhausted. It's like, who can find the energy? So personally, I'm not as big of a fan of pre-workout anymore, just because like the energy in the gym that I go to, um, the fact that I don't have to like think about what I'm gonna do because it's already prepared. These are all just like elements, factors that allow me to not do it. What about you, Jeremy? Do you?
Yeah, I agree. I think to say it quickly, it's more about having like just a balanced overall diet and stuff like that. And that's probably the biggest thing I want to advocate for in this is that supplements are just that supplementary, and that's why there's not really a lot of supplements that are needed as far as workout supplements. If you have a good balanced diet and you found out the good foods, which generally means what? Eating somewhere between 3 to 5 meals with your macros in there and your micros, macronutrients and your micronutrients. Like, there's not like magic here. Like, it's like, and you want to look, we're not going to exhaustively get into like, macros are fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. Micronutrients, there's a lot of important things there for you to be making sure to get in your vitamins and plus things. So, but yeah, I think honestly that's the main reason I'll have energy for a workout is because I got enough rest, I'm hydrated, and I have a balanced diet, and so overall balanced lifestyle. You mentioned coming after work. I do think that's one of the hardest parts. Is like after a really tough day and I'm like mentally like done, it's very hard to like go in and do like a max snatch or something.
Yeah.
Your brain is like not, it's like it's not even your body, it's your nervous system and your brain, and then your mentality, your mental energy just isn't there. And so I do take creatine and protein just to help get enough protein in. I take collagen protein just because it's easier for my body to process. I'm not even super like, hey, I want all the other benefits of collagen. To my understanding, there's a certain amount of research of like a lot of stuff they say it does. It's like, does it really help skin? It's like, I don't know about that, but it definitely has protein in it, so I'll take it for that reason. And then the collagen peptides I take has protein in it. That is.
Yeah.
And I take creatine. I take Podium just because it's at Target. Podium so far seems to be like a pretty solid supplement brand. So that's why I don't even know. I doubt it's the best creatine there is. I just haven't done enough research on it. I got a lot of priority in my life. I feel like it's good enough for me for now. I'll get a better creatine maybe one day. And I do coffee, 2 cups of coffee a day, probably equivalent to about 200 milligrams plus. That's pretty much like what my supplement life looks like. I do also take some different like micro nutrient supplements as well, like vitamins, like some different like green food powders and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't take really. I mean, I think usually I try to time my caffeine for the workout, like that I'll have a little bit left over from the caffeine to still be using it. So for me, what that looks like is generally I work out at a 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock time, and generally I have caffeine around 2 o'clock, my last bit of caffeine. So in my opinion, like usually I kind of notice there's like some left over there. Am I tempted sometimes to be like, I'd like to get a little extra boost? Yeah, for sure. But I try to monitor how much caffeine I get a day and how much dependency I have. If I'm competing and stuff like that and I feel really tired, I probably would just pop in a little bit more if I'm completely honest. Maybe grab a Fit Aid at our gym. We have Fit Aids. We have some that have 40 milligrams.
Yeah,
so it's not
yeah.
a crazy amount.
Yep.
That's enough maybe to give you a little. But personally, I actually do not like pre-workouts anymore either. And right for a workout in particular, I feel like in particular they don't work well for CrossFit.
I agree.
I think in comparison to something like weight training, for sure, I would not be worried at all resistant weight training to pop in some, because you're just sitting there,
right?
Like get a pump as strong as you can and then you take a break.
Right.
Get a pump in as strong as you can and then you like take a break. Like CrossFit's totally different. It's like you go until you're done.
Yeah.
And then you're done. And and I'm telling you, it's in my opinion, in all way, not always, but in a lot of ways, it's more intense. Not always, because intensity can be measured in different ways. But I find doing a regular resistant weight training in a bodybuilding style, which is sets and reps and breaks, I find that is actually I need a boost a little bit more usually to keep going for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is. I don't even know how long you should be doing something anymore. But all that to say is, if I was about to just go do like some resistant weight training, maybe I'll take a little bit of something extra to get me going. But if I'm about to do a CrossFit workout, I think it just gets everything going. Then no, I'm definitely not gonna take like some of these like crazy things like Ghost pre-workouts or what's the other ones? What are the other brands like?
Well, C4 is like a typical. You said yeah, because you got
C4 in the C4 2010 versus C4 2020 plus is totally different. Right?
Yeah.
C4 was C4 before. It was like it was but now at least it's like it's a supplement that doesn't kill people right away. Right away. We'll see what happens in time. No offense, C4, but it's not different.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, sponsor us, C4.
Prove us wrong.
There's a lot of them. I took one before an open workout, and I felt like I was going to throw up like 10 minutes in. Like I was like, oh, this was a mistake. So,
yeah. Well, you kind of got a little sensitive tummy over there too, but I was going to say that.
I never throw up. What people don't know is that I do. If I can get like IBS symptoms for sure, but throwing up is never. I've like thrown up like 5 times in my life.
Wow.
I felt like I was gonna throw up after that. Yeah, it was not good. Yeah. Anyways, Sean.
I want to talk on the running side of things too, and we'll get to like some trusted brands that obviously that we've already mentioned after this, but when it comes to pre-workout, that's something that I personally as a runner typically stay away from when it comes to my workouts. And race, especially races. There's no races that I would consider taking a pre-workout if it's longer than a mile. Just because I believe the effects on the heart are too great for the longer distances that you're taking these supplements. Where I would say it's more dependent on your training. Than any sort of kick that you could get, because there's so much more pace involved. Where I would say that adrenaline rush it fades off, and you don't want to tap into your reserves too soon by taking a supplement like that. If you're running a 5K or not, because once you take that stuff, like it gets your whole body like enacted, whereas you can't really have that reserve anymore on the last final kick in a 5K, the last mile, because you already used it the first mile and a half. So it's a weird thing to experience, but I would only recommend taking, you know, a sip of coffee, or maybe like a sip of like a 5 hour energy before like a 400-meter race, 800, or a mile race, because I do believe that you'll see some great effects when it comes to tapping into your kick and being strong in that race. But it does increase heart rate, but your heart rate's already going because your adrenaline and your anticipation of that gun going off. What you have to, your body just prepares for what the heck's about to go down. You're going to be running fast for an extended amount of time, so you already have your adrenaline. But I have noticed a significant difference with pre-workouts before races or intense workouts that are short-lived. But I would never recommend a pre-workout for a race longer than a 5K.
That's good. That's good advice. I'd also say this too. This just jumped in because you're talking about like competition day, race day. Don't introduce a supplement on competition day. I'm just gonna throw that out there. That's my best advice because it's always there. There's always stuff there, and like, hey, I've never tried alcohol. I'll pop it in. That's not a good idea. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
I promise you. That's probably like a universal. You ask people with experience. There's always that outlier. There's like some people, it's just like things just don't affect them that much. And they'll be like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I just like took 4 gels for the first time. And it's just like, what? And they're like, yeah, it was fine. What? And then afterward, I had some KFC. It was a great day.
Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah.
It's like some people are just like, their body is like incredible. Like their digestive system is amazing. But for the rest of us that have like more of a normal digestive system and a body, like introduce things before you need performances. Max performances matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Question. All right. Trying to do lightning round here. Beta-Alanine. Beta-Alanine. What's the? Is that a thing? Like, because you can even get these things just by themselves. Like, you don't even have. You can get straight to the source. I've done that before. Like, you can go to like, what's one of the
Whole Foods or something.
Stores. Well, I was thinking, ones that are just even specific for supplements.
Like GNC?
Yeah, like you can go to like a GNC and you can just get like beta-alanine and scoop it and put it in. You can get some citrulline and put it in, scoop it in. And you can do your own mixtures and stuff because that's essentially what you're buying. You're buying someone's proprietary blend of things, their mixture, but you can make your own. Okay, what do you guys know about beta-alanine? Do you like it? I know we're already pretty much established we don't really do pre-workouts. I'm still interested, guys. Give me some advice here.
Isn't that the one that makes you tingly?
It can. That's a lot of people's experience. They get that.
So, tingles. Yeah, I would never, ever try that.
It's about prevention of acid buildup, right? It's like, that's the idea, right?
Yeah, I have no idea. You probably know more about.
Go look it up, people.
Yeah, go look it up.
We said this is fitness, not.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
And maybe if I'm going for a max like squat or something like that is the only time. But I know people regularly like that feeling. And I feel like there are only very few specific instances. Like maybe if you're gonna go rob a bank, or maybe if you're gonna, like I said, put 500 pounds on your back for a squat, you need a little bit of like kick in your system. Don't rob banks.
Hey, for those bank robbers out there, they're writing down notes. Oh, I didn't see this one coming. I got to check out the surveillance. I need to look at the.
Make sure you got enough beta-alanine
and have my pre-workout. And then that should be in a movie now. And be like, shoot, I forgot my pre-workout.
Call it. And that's how I turn my life around.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then they all get arrested. And he's like sitting there with his like beta-alanine, like, oh, today.
If you have this like inclination to rob banks, we are very sorry and considerate of making you stumble. So forgive us for that. Hey, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
We pray for you. Citrulline. Do you know anything about that one?
It's common. What does it do?
I don't know. Well, let's look at what AI has to say. This is
Oh,
AI
wow.
overview, people. So we're not
Ooh.
doing anything you can't do yourself. But an amino acid that helps prepare the body for intense exercise. Um,
Hmm.
it converts it. I don't know, blood vessel function. So that one seems like it's supposed to be about blood flow.
That sounds
Hey guys,
more like a supplement a runner would look into, um,
Hmm.
yeah,
or
yeah, I've
maybe
heard people talk about it,
a
but
CrossFit athlete too.
yeah. So we got the tingles, we got this. How about just you mentioned the amino acids like branch change amino acids, aka BCAAs. What's the deal with that? That's you see that in a lot. I know you know a little bit about that, guys. What do you guys
Hmm.
think?
They found that like you know, if you're already getting, like you said, number one is like getting your protein through foods. That's the top tier level, and then number two is like getting your protein through foods, and then if you have to supplement that with a protein powder. But then the third level is like if you can't hit your proteins at all, that's the only time that like BCAAs have been shown to be beneficial to like help supplement your overall protein intake. Is if you in your diet you can't get like your total amount of protein that you need for the day, then it's going to be beneficial. And I think it is with BCAAs, however, where people it's shown to have negative effects if people go overboard with it, with like depression and things like that. I think that is actually in a few studies where if you do happen to kind of like oversupply that and kind of like just take too much of it, that it has been shown to cause those kind of negative effects. So that's what I know.
That's a good thing to talk about too, right? Is symptoms. So keep that in mind with whatever you put in your body. Look at like what are side effects. A lot of supplements that are even good can have potential side effects, if not for sure do. Um, so just to look into that because some stuff can be serious, right? Some things can be like liver function,
Right.
kidney function
Yeah.
effects and stuff. So
Water.
just ed- educate yourself on what it is that you're gonna take before you take it. I would say because we're not like experts here. We're people though that have put a certain amount of time in it. Maybe we could put Josiah in the expert category, but um, we have certain expertise in understanding John too. I'm the non-expert. Here's what I'm trying to say. So from a layman's perspective, take some creatine or protein. It probably will cover mostly like what you need to worry about as far as supplements go for like if you're trying to build muscle and stuff like that. And don't do that other stuff. If you see some like new thing, don't just take it. Like
Right.
I'd say try to avoid just going to the store and looking at stuff and buying stuff. Try to avoid that. You at the very least like put an extra couple minutes and look it up on your phone first before you make a purchase. Like just try to. That would be my advice. So I'm speaking to people, especially trying to get back to the gym. Creatine, protein, you're probably good. Have some caffeine. Don't really worry about the rest of it. Probably save your money on pre-workouts. And if we change our mind, maybe we'll get sponsored. So change our minds, pre-workout companies. Just kidding, John. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say apologies, C4.
Yeah, because to my understanding, it's no different than like the rest of them at this point. But
Uh,
there was a time where they had to make some changes to their formula.
I do want to add if you guys can mention some of those name brands that you trust. For people who are just getting into the gym, I do want to iterate that um, it's more important to focus on your goal. What's your goal before you start taking any supplements, so you can achieve those and know what kind of workouts you're going to be doing and trying, and get the fundamentals down first before you start taking a whole bunch of introducing a whole bunch of new stuff to your body.
Yeah. Josiah, you got any brands come to mind?
Right now, my protein is like the native NATIVE protein. I think it's overall pretty safe. The whey, I used to take just basic whey protein. That I think kind of like messes with my stomach a little bit, but I think anytime you kind of like overdo something or you stay on something for a long time, like your body's going to naturally start to, not build up a defense against it, but kind of like get used to it, and it won't be as effective. So I do think there's nothing wrong with like switching proteins every, like I said, maybe every 6 months, every year, whatever, so that you're kind of like allowing your body some little bit of respite where it's, a little bit of a challenge. So native, I used to take, you said Podium, Jeremy. I used to take that for, like the electrolytes. And for creatine, I think generally, anytime on the back, as far as the ingredients, if it just has, your creatine monohydrate, then you're probably pretty good to go, right? Because otherwise, if it says creatine monohydrate plus proprietary blend, well, it's like, what else is in there? Do you even need that? No, you can just get the basic form pretty much in a lot of places. You mentioned those supplement stores. So that's kind of what I would stick to.
Well, now you hit on an important thing, because there actually is like there's creatine monohydrate, and then there's other forms of creatine like hydrochloride. There's other ones, and I'm pretty sure the monohydrate, like that's the one that's tested and proved to really be doing what you need to do. The rest of them are kind of like BS, and they're trying to like sell it as like they're doing something, and there's just a lot of research that's shown as like studies that come out like nah. So do your own research if you don't want to do your own research and you're willing to just take our advice, just go with the creatine monohydrate. Fine, like you said, use Josiah's advice. Probably a lot of those I think like a brand that I trust, First Form seems to be pretty solid from talking to them.
Yeah.
Podiums, they seem to be pretty solid. You mentioned whey. I think for my collagen, I use Vital Proteins. It's like one of the, usually it's like a blue container. I think that's a great one for the collagen peptides. It's a good brand. You brought up for like electrolytes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That is something, a supplement we didn't really talk a lot about.
Sure.
If you're sweating a lot, actually it is a good idea to use some of these like basically salt packet hydration packets. I personally would recommend something like Element. That is really good. It's just giving you like salt, I think magnesium, and trying to forget. I'm like blanking on the other one, but like that's like for hydration. But mostly it's salt. Let's be honest. That's why I call it salt. Like it's like 1,000 milligrams of salt.
Ooh,
and you might be like, what? That's crazy. Well, it depends. Like, I mean, did you sweat like for like 2 hours? Like, it's actually probably not that crazy then, actually, So, and I actually do think it is a game changer for recovery.
Yes.
And to continue, to be able to continue to go back to these workouts again and again, because what's happening is, like, hydration is fluid and it's salt and magnesium and what's the other, like, I don't know. But like, what I'm trying to say is your hydration isn't just
potassium.
Fluids.
Yeah.
It's potassium, thank you. And it's what's in the fluids too, right, that you're losing. So when you're sweating, you're losing fluids, but you're also losing these, like, potassium. You're losing these different things. And so that's important to know, is that those have to be replenished too. You can't just drink water or just drink fluids and think that you've actually replenished your hydration. So anyways, all that to say is, like, hydration packets are legit, but there are illegitimate ones, because maybe they throw in a lot of crazy stuff you don't need that maybe even hurt your stomach, could have adverse effects. So the one I recommend is Element. You said Podium has one that sounds like they're pretty solid. I'm sure First Form has one. Any other brands, stuff comes to mind, John?
Not that I can think of, except for the one I already mentioned, the Raw company. Also, actually, we were talking about refueling like post workouts, and I think it's called MRE. That brand, they have a meal replacement proteins / meal replacement shake powder. And I used to take that for like a post-workout as well, just for getting all the nutrients back into my body. A lot of natural foods in that powder. It's not the best tasting, but I do believe that they're a great brand for refueling.
Okay. I will say that Yeah, you guys might have to finish this one without me, but just real quick, so Element is spelled LMNT for that brand. Good one. Another one is that liquid IV for like electrolytes. Uh,
With
but
some carbohydrates in it.
yeah,
And some
yep.
sugar.
So
Which
those
isn't
are
bad.
pretty
Some people
good.
don't like. Yeah, some people don't like it sometimes because like, oh, sugar. And they're like, well, actually, after workout, maybe that'd be good. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, no, I think we can finish out here. I would also say isopure protein is a good one. I got into that one for a while because I do have, Josiah had mentioned like my stomach can be like sensitive to certain things. It doesn't do well with whey. Doesn't do well with dairy in general. And so what's cool about the isopure is they take like the whey isolate approach, which kind of limits like a lot of times what are problematic for people when it comes to the process that they use, and kind of take you basically getting the lactate out of it so that hopefully you won't have as much trouble processing it. And I believe I'm saying that correctly. I did notice personally that it helped. It helped some, but still collagen way better for me. So that's why I don't really take isopure anymore. But some good flavors, some stuff tasted kind of good. If you're looking for taste, that's a whole another thing. Sometimes the stuff that tastes the best don't necessarily. Actually, Bears, I think they have some pretty good. They have some pretty tasty. The Bear Performance Nutrition, I think, is the company, right?
Yeah.
They have some really tasty proteins. I remember like people, they kept coming out with new stuff. People would be like, oh yeah, like the Snickers or something, like just like crazy stuff. Not that I don't know if that's actually one, but so anyways, I think I think we nailed it on supplements.
You spoke
I think
fast.
I,
we did good,
I lastly want
even
to
though we didn't give
add.
answers to things, but
I lastly want
good.
to add those electrolytes, drinks and stuff like that. That's going to be for your long duration workouts, like high intensity, long duration workouts. And
Yeah.
I do swear by those like electrolyte drinks and stuff. They will replenish and make you feel a lot better if
Nice.
you're not feeling it.
Yeah, there you go. Creatine, protein at the top of the list, right underneath that. Probably get some like hydration stuff. But please, if you didn't hear anything we said, what we're recommending more than anything is having like a balanced diet, rest, lowering your stress levels. Number one way to do that, Jesus. You're like, no. Josiah just, his video went out. What
He
is
just
it? Josiah,
he
get your
just
video.
he just ended it on that, man. He's like, with that,
Josiah, get
I'm
your
out.
video.
I'm out.
Josiah, get your video back up, bro. But no, prayer, legitimately, there's even studies that shown how it'll, like, what it can do for stress levels and things like that. But Jesus, for real, is the difference between like you living that holistic lifestyle, health or not, and then all the other things will come into line as you trust in Him with all your heart, and He will, and not only understanding, knowledge of all your ways, make your path straight. Josiah left us,
100%.
but yeah, that's what it's all about. Honestly, though, for real, though, practically, you can in place within being a follower of Christ is just like really like developing a very healthy prayer life. Will actually, believe it or not, even help for all of this stuff. There is a lot of studies that show like how to like help you even physically measurably. So yeah, and praise too. Actually, they show that too. Like singing praise is another one. Singing praise songs will help a lot. So someone's like, I didn't see that one coming. Well, that's the number one supplement to life, brother. And we're talking about supplements. So here you go. John, anything to add on that before we go out? Josiah pieced out on us.
Yeah, I think enjoy the process. I mean, if you're not doing this with joy, like what's the purpose of doing it besides like getting a nice looking body? Like if you don't enjoy the body and the process that God's given you, like I think that's going to help a whole lot with just your mood, your day is just not seeing it as a duty, but more so as like I have the privilege and the honor to use my body to the best of its ability. And you're made for joy, man. So that's one of the fruit of the Spirit. And I promise you, that's one of the most biggest game changers that a Christian can have is peace and joy.
Amen. Heck yeah. All right. Landed on that note. That was perfect.